Obi-Wan, I will no longer tolerate your weakness. The show is shit.
Hello everybody, welcome to the show. Today, of course, we're gonna talk about the Star Wars spin-off series Obi-Wan Kenobi. And to be honest, I just can't be bothered to watch the series. Not to mention give it a review on it. A bit of turning into a laughingstock. So let's start with the plot of the show. Catching on with last episode, Obi-Wan Kenobi just kind of like, escaped from Darth Vader. And he's got severely injured, but he's just saved by the Resistance army, and he just kind of recovered in this water tank, and is kind of feeling the same pain Darth Vader felt, and he kind of like resonates, kind of like puts himself in the shoes of this former protege. Leia somehow just captured by the sister Reva. And to be honest, we do not fully know how she just kind of, probably they just kind of like delete some scenes of how Leia specifically got captured by the third sister. But, this episode we're seeing she's getting interrogated by Reva. And yeah, just basically about the rescue mission of saying Princess Leia again. Yeah, so it's kind of like a bit of cliche, but I do enjoy the kind of like this tension on the kind of the bad guy's base. I do enjoy the feeling of infiltrating into the badass base located in the middle of the ocean, and that's a good beat. Probably the only good beat of the show. The sad tune, pretty good, but the problems still are the weakness of the characters. The problem lies most into the poor writing. I mean, this is kind of writing that just full of too many plot holes that I could basically have like a 2-hour video pointed out, which saying it's going wrong first. Why Reva can't use her force power to force out the secret from Leia? And also, like when Obi-Wan just infiltrated by swimming all the way up to the base, he actually, after he killed one of the stupid troopers, he actually could dressed up as the trooper in the trooper's costume, but he didn't, and that just contradicts what happened later on. When he got Leia, he just dressed up as the Imperial commander in this really kind of huge, really baggy trench coat. He chose to do that in that part, but why he didn't choose to do it in the first place? You could say at first he just want to, chose the hardest mode and to just challenge himself by now pretending to be one of them, but later on he chose to do that, and that just like contradictory. That just contradicts itself. Well, another hilarious thing, of course, is Leia just got covered by Uncle Obi-Wan Kenobi by just covering her up under his huge trench coat, and nobody can just say there's something wrong with that guy walking with 4 feet, with his 4 legs. That is so obvious, and none of them, when they have the alarm rang, they felt like there's someone already in the base. They just couldn't be bothered to pay attention to a guy with 4 legs. That is just so abysmal, I must say. That is just like a laughingstock. Well, another problem, of course, is the characters. Because of the poor writing, the character just seems like that doesn't resonate with the audience. And when it comes to the good people and Obi-Wan Kenobi or Princess Leia, as well as the other resistant troops, just don't feel like that you can put yourself into their shoes. When they die, they die. You don't feel like pity for them. You don't feel like this kind of sadness running through you. And when it comes to the bad guys, when it comes to like especially the third sister, and she's just trying too hard, and you don't feel she's very menacing, you don't feel she's very threatening, and you don't feel that she's kind of like a bad guy material. And especially in this episode, she just came to interrogate Princess Leia, and she doesn't seem very kind of terrifying, and she tried her best, and she tried to use the voice, tried to use her eye contact, and threatening Princess Leia, but actually doesn't work. And still, I think the problem is still comes down to part of her acting, and also due to the poor directing. I think Deborah Cho is definitely now the perfect candidate for directing such a big legacy of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And another thing, where's Darth Vader? Where the hell is Darth Vader? Of course, it popped up at the end of the show very conveniently, but the vast majority of the show in which Obi-Wan Kenobi infiltrated into that base, he's just now in presence. What he's doing, he probably is on some mission, but he just finished the mission. He's supposed to return back with his sister, but he was now there, and he's just came back and just used his force power to punish Riva, the third sister, and throwing his tantrum at the third sister, but not doing anything else. And he's basically just very conveniently written off this episode. And I think it's definitely poor writing. The script writers, the playwrights, and they definitely need to be responsible for the collapse of the legacy of Obi-Wan Kenobi. And it just turned into a very kind of cliches, claptrap, slapstick show that nobody could be watched with seriousness. Again, there's no joke in the show. The whole show, the whole series, just with minimum jokes or funny stuff or any comic. Especially in this episode, no sense of humor. If you count something goofy or something that is so kind of poor writing, you can count that as sense of humor. But of course, it didn't do that on purpose. It's just some mistakes done by the poor writing, and it just full of some simplicity, and that just make you laugh. But not any kind of jokes that's put there on purpose to kind of entertain the audience. You feel like I said in the last episode review, a show like Star Wars, they should always have some kind of jazz and some kind of jokes that just makes you feel chill at the moments. And when it comes to the real tension, you feel the tension is more menacing and the scenes are more kind of nerve-wracking after a couple of jokes. But this show just kind of especially this episode, just no joke involved. You should have some moments where the character just play with the troopers. You should have some kind of smart quotes, and you should have some some ways shown by Obi-Wan Kenobi. So the final verdict of this episode, probably 2 out of 10. A lot of people gave it 0 out of 10. That's quite honest. And this show just nowhere near the standard of Mandalorian. But this show just kind of show us the lowest standard that Disney could get. I mean, it's a proper character. It's very beloved character, Obi-Wan Kenobi. And Ewan McGregor's presence on the screen is absolutely every Star Wars fans would appreciate. But this show just kind of turned him into a laughingstock and turned him into this rusty Jedi who's supposed to be very good at his work, but he's nowhere near the master of Jedi. He's just some kind of homeless and rusty, washed down hero. Only the good thing with the show so far with this episode, it's the very beginning of the show where they're going to have this rescue mission. They're going to plan this infiltration kind of mission on this very dark, wiped, badass base. And it kind of gives the audience, gives the viewers some kind of anticipation, some kind of tense. But things just got pretty messed up when they bore down, when Obi-Wan Kenobi swam all the way into that facility. Things got a bit of out of hand after that, because that some of the stuff that just made the viewers think, wow, that's impossible. There's no way could he do that or could she do that, and it's just full of some poor writing that just ruined the mission. Yeah, so final verdict, 2 out of 10. Where is that? Hopefully the following episode are going to be funnier or better. Well, to be honest, I don't know what to expect from the the next 2 episodes is going to come to an end, and I don't know what the climax is going to be like. Is it going to be a climax full of this kind of poor writing? I think it's just like all over the place. Hopefully it's not going to be all over the place in the last 2 episodes. Hopefully they're going to be Liam Neeson popping up as the Jedi Master. Just stay with the show. Let's see what's going on next.